Welcome one and all to the K5 channel, and today's video is going to be mostly about Mark. It's going to be about his customs, it's going to be about some of the things that he's finished, and it's going to be about something that he's sent to me as well, this little box. Yes, so if you just tuned in for the first time, K5 is not all about slush puppies. Let's find out what it is all about.
Talk about some of the models that Chris, Mr. K5, sent to me yesterday, which arrived. And the main purpose really was to sort out an issue with this, which is a top half of the casting of a Matchbox XK120 Jaguar. Chris would like to have it done as a racing vehicle from the back in the day. And we had a little discussion about it, and ultimately we are going to use the wheels from this Jaguar E-Type, mainly because they are wired wheels, and it gives it a flavour of old Matchbox as well. The thing is that the tyres have seen better days. Now, they aren't painted grey, I worked that out, these are grey, and I don't know whether K5 realised that. I'll have to tell him. But they shrunk, and that's the problem with these early plastic nylon polythene wheels. They do tend to shrink, and you need to get replacement ones, which is a shame because I don't think Steve Flowers Model Supplies does the grey tyres. Not really quite sure. I'm having ethical problems there, but never mind. So that's the idea. We're going to get that sorted out at some stage, so I'm sure Chris will show you at a later stage.
What we do with the slush puppy right now, but obviously we're going to have to just cope with some little cars instead. And let's have a look, see which sort of little cars are in here. No peeking. This is a no peeking special. There we are. The box is empty, and sadly there are no cool refreshing drinks in there. Oh well, maybe next time. Okay then, let's save that one till the end. That's lucky it came out the other way up, so we don't know what it is. Let's go through this stuff here that's all wrapped up in little tissues. Wow, now that is cool. Wow. Well, first impression is that that is what you would want to call a nice little epic Matchbox. And I think it is Matchbox Superfast. There we go, can we see that? Just about. It's a number 21. There we go. That's a proper Lesney as well. Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, currently Mark's having a bit of a fascination with these cars, so I'm very surprised he sent me this one over. Radio Monte Carlo, wicked. It's got a few scratches and things, but overall, isn't that a beauty? Thank you so much, Mark. That's awesome. It's almost got a retractable hook on the back there. Wow, loving it. Anything good in the back? Not yet. Very cool. That is known as a Renault. It's a Renault 5, isn't it? Goodness me, Renault 5 TL. Another little parcel. Oh, this is another Matchbox. It's the 65 Ford pickup. Ooh, that's cool. Is this a Thailand? Oh, they're all Thailand, aren't they? Of course. I think this is from a 5-pack. Wicked. I do love my 56 Ford pickups. Wow. They've done a really nice job on that. That is really cool. Interesting scratch marks there. Looks like it's been driving through the brambles, or even probably barbed wire fences by the looks of it. Interesting paint scheme there. But at least it's there, and it does look good. I do like this model. Wow, that is cool. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. Very nice.
Now the next thing was that he's chucked in for me very kindly was this, which is a Jeep Gladiator done by Matchbox in the early 60s. Funny looking thing. I seem to recall having one as a kid and didn't last very long. Probably one from my sister's hand-me-downs. She was 5 years older than me, but yeah, an interesting vehicle. It's a Kaiser Jeep. Kaiser refers to the owners of Jeep as part of the Kaiser group, and they came up with some other quirky looking stuff. I think their hope was to try and make the Jeeps a little bit more civilianised because they were rather military-like. So they came up with rather strange front ends. But the Gladiator lasted for quite a number of years. I think really through until the early 1970s. But there's a new one. As you can see, the Matchbox Gladiator, which I've probably talked about in a previous video. So I wanted to do a comparison. There isn't really obviously very much similarity. You've got a double cab now with the latest one, but of course it's red. And I think the only thing that's also similarity is the sort of shaping of the wheel arches. That's the only thing I can point out. Nice little touch here is that the guys at Matchbox looked at what was done back in the day with the raised Jeep logo. They've done the same, but they've embossed it, which will be copying the real thing. So a nice touch there. Right, and on to some more. A laser wheel Corvette Grand Sport. Well, no, it's not Grand Sport, it's a 62 Corvette. A particularly nice paint finish on that one, and I think it's been clear coated. That's why these ones were so shiny, and I think the decals stayed on so well. But a nice runner, lovely colour, thank you. The Citroen SM, which I've now got quite a few of to tart up, so to speak. The interesting thing is that the doors are fine on this one. I read somewhere that this model had a reputation for the doors coming off. They are quite thin, and the amount of pressure to put on there will have that door off in no time at all. But one of my favourite Matchbox models, mainly because of the paint colour, and when that was fresh out of the box, that bonnet really caught the light. Beautiful.
Nothing in that bit of paper. Oh, there's another little tissue. Alright, here we go. Well, at least I'm okay if I get hay fever. So we've got, looks like, what, Formula 1 car? And here we go again. It looks like it's one of them Motormaxes. It is a Motormax car, but this is a very nice piece. This is the, wow, it looks kind of reminiscent of the McLaren. The old Marlboro McLaren. I suppose they couldn't use that license. But very nice indeed. It's got like a Formula 3, isn't it? From around about 1976 or something. Maybe slightly earlier. Wow. That's very good. It's all in like full condition. Wow. Z-Toys. That's the one. Zilmix. Zilmec. Yes, Zilmec turned into Motormax. Wow. What a lovely little thing.
Volkswagen 1600 TL. Again, I've got a few of these now. I've got a super fast one. A lot of them I've refreshed. That's my expression now for what I do, refreshing. Literally just come up with that one. That's not the word, obviously. I haven't invented a word. That would be crazy. But in terms of what I do with models, I think refreshing models, making them fresh again. Perhaps that's the way to look at it. Doors open on this one. This to me is golden age, the real golden age of Matchbox, when you had nice wheels on, that they had really very good detail. They've been quite clever. This is similar to the Morris MG 1300, which had the similar thing going on with the way they tried to achieve the headlamps and indicators. Just put it off the base. But really fine detailing, really fine casting, opening doors, sprung suspension, top end Matchbox. This is, never will they ever reach that sort of height, and it was all coming in as a pocket money toy. Imagine that, eh? Let's do some Mercuries. Mercury Cougar. I'm fairly familiar with this one. And this is your first run. Unfortunately it's missing this front pillar, so I'll maybe try and construct one of those out of plastic and get that one sorted. We also got it in the super vast version, so we'll see what we can do with that red. I think the Mercury commuter. Of course, Mercury is a Ford brand. I don't have to tell that to people in America, but in the United Kingdom may not be aware of that so much. So in fact the Mercury Cougar was in fact actually really a Ford, and it was basically considered as a Mustang for a slightly more mature customer who wanted the sort of sportiness but also wanted a bit more size.
VGC, that's the one, isn't it? That's the one to have if you're going to get one. All right, there's something wrapped in. Something wrapped, there we go. Right, okay, let's check this one out. Now this, to me, looks like it's potentially a custom. So let's have a look and see if it is or not. This looks like it's a Datsun, of course, Datsun 240. Right, there we go. Right, a 240Z, probably. Okay, now then. 240Z. Is that a Datsun 240Z a la majorette, a la customised? Let's have a look. It is. Whoa! You can see that Mark's been at it there. Look, it's got one of Mark's trademark sealing devices there. I think that's just crazy glue or something, but it seems to work. Seems to do the job nicely. Now that is awesome. Wow. Currently, Majorette are on 15,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram. Majorette Australasia. Congratulations to you guys out there. Not that you don't really watch my videos, but I know Frisian's Diecast has a thing for this car, and I can see why. It's very nicely done. Interesting slant to the windscreen. It's absolutely genuinely supposed to be like that. Mark, you've done a lovely, lovely job on this. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. In purple too. Love in purple. Metallic purple.
Matchbox police cars, a Plymouth Grand Fury. Never had one of these as a kid. This is a 79 release and it's made in Macau. I noticed actually that there is, although the front end of a door and a back end of a door, there is no actual door line, and I don't quite know what's happened there, but I think it's because they just simply didn't cast in those middle details so they could put printing on there or stickers. So economies of sorts, not bad. We'll do something with that. Maybe a fire chief. Another, sorry about the camera job. Another emergency vehicle, the Matchbox police car, the Rover 3500, or otherwise known as the SD1. SD stood for Solihull Design. Solihull is in the West Midlands, and where British Leyland, the mighty British Leyland, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year of its creation in 1968, they built a factory up in the West Midlands in Solihull, specifically to make the SD1. To show you this, which is basically what I did a few months ago. I took one of these, which was nearly as bad condition as this, and did that with it. So I think we've talked about this one before. I've shown you before. Row-style wheels, no row-style, sorry, mini light wheels that came from a Hongwell Mini 143 scale. So potential there. We'll have a little think of what we're going to do. And on to some corgis, huskies. a Husky Rice horse box. Rice appears on the front here, as you can see. It all comes down, but it's missing a wheel, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Just wait and one will turn up. This is the way I tend to look at things these days. I must be growing up. My impatience seems to have gone. No, it hasn't. But it is one of those things that I've become accustomed to with cars, model cars, is that if you hang around long enough, the thing that you want will generally turn up. And that is because they made so many of them. That's the rule of thumb. Anyway, we'll move on to this, another Corgi. Now, I think this did turn up as a Husky, but it turned up just at the time when it was, they were changing the branding. So this is now termed as a Corgi, and it's a Jaguar XJ6. The XJ6, an extremely important car for Jaguar. Not only did it come out the very year that Jaguar was absorbed into British Leyland, second reference to British Leyland in this video, which was terrible news for Jaguar purists. The idea that Jaguar should be, you know, grouped in with such humble vehicles as Austin and Morris. However, it was seen as a requirement to ensure the British motor industry survived into the future, which of course it didn't, not in the state that it was. So this rather nice Jaguar model has an opening tailgate, boot, trunk, whatever you want to call it, in whichever territory you're viewing this. A very fine piece of casting actually, and I can't help thinking that that was because when they spoke to Jaguar, they said, can you try and make it look as good as possible? It's not bad. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. It's also missing the pillar. What is this, Chris? Do you eat pillars? Is that is that what's going on? There's a trend emerging.
And finally, out of this little lot, and it's not the end just yet, is this. Wow, this is Lotus Elise, of course, Matchbox International, I guess that. Looks that way. Comes from a little series there, look. Wow, well, we're in about 2000 and 1990-70 sort of time. Let's have a look. Nothing there. Anything on the bottom. 1999, so from 2000. There we go. Wow, what a piece. It's a piece I don't have at all. Always wanted a Lotus Elise, and now I have one. Thank you, Mark. That is awesome. Is it going to come out the box? Yeah, why not? Goodness me. Screaming, take me out, that one. Take me out. Wow, so much nicer in person. Oh, yes. The detail on that. It's beautiful. Metal base. Oh, it's a Mattel number. Okay. Interesting. In what is essentially a very old looking box. I never knew Mattel did that. Well, saying that, they did, didn't they? They did the, around about 2002. They were still knocking them out in those boxes. But look at that. It's got so many nice little details. That's a beauty. And there you go. That's why you should take the cars out of the boxes. See, it even gets damaged in a box. Look at that. Beautiful. Extra something about this car. I was playing around with it. Check this out. It's got basically suspension. Now that is something that you don't see very often on a Mattel Matchbox. That's amazing. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful.
Right, let's finish off. Corgis, Corgi Juniors. Whiz Wheels Ford Escorts. I've got one of these somewhere. I'm not going to stop and get it out, but basically it's the same as this. It's got stickers on it, and basically it's very much the high-end sort of sporting Escort. Now, the wheel arch is way too pronounced. I don't know what they were on. And I'm tempted to get the file out on it, but I won't. This originally turned up, and I think around about 1970 or thereabouts, and it had a strut, plastic strut running from the top of the roof here across onto the front wing, and it was replicating the 1970 London to Mexico World Cup rally. You can read about that online, but that the actual Ford that ran in that race was a Ford Escort, and it won. And that is why you have the Ford Escort Mexico. It was named in honour of that car, the ultimate rally car. So they would be speaking in that time in 1970. There you go, a bit of background on that one. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. Long-term projects ahead, I think. How about this? The Martin Walker Caravan. Martin Walter Transit Caravan. And this one is the whiz wheel variation. In an earlier video I showed you one that I had done which had the older wheels, and I'd sprayed it in a sort of goldy colour. Again, I would get it out, but I don't know exactly where it is. The big difference is with this model is it's got the tailgate which says Transit, and it has an interesting sort of hook thing, slide. You pull it up and slide it in. Well, that's not quite working. It's very, very dirty inside. I would get a torch out, but I think you get the idea. You've heard the expression barn find. Well, that's like half the field is inside there with potatoes growing in it. Mental, as they say. We'll work on that. Orange? I think orange would be very nice. Methinks orange. And we will finish. Well, actually, here's some tyres that Chris sent me, which is presumably expected would fit onto these. Not sure. We'll check. I'm sure he has already. What are these? They are Guy Invincible petrol tankers, and they're produced by Corgi, by Husky, by Corgi. Obviously, there you can see what happens when a branding changes from one to the other. So you'll see this is Husky, and you'll notice the wheels are different when you make that transition. There you go, all sorts of wheels going on there. So what's happened here is a child, maybe it was Chris, I don't know, has taken what are Airfix, I can see they are Airfix water slide decals from a plastic kit. The bit of the transfers that no one ever used, which was the bit that told you what the plane was. So a child has taken off the paper stickers, which probably say SO, and replaced these. That is off a Lightning. No, maybe not a Lightning. That's probably off a Hunter, Hawker Hunter. It would have been on the side of the aircraft. I'm sure someone could tell me. Reference material, I'm sure. It's we're missing anything on there to tell us what it was. Guy trucks were based in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands. They had a very good reputation, very fine vehicles, but they didn't last, I'm afraid. They were bought by Jaguar sometime in the 1960s. They became part of the same group, and then when Jaguar was brought into the British Leyland Group, these guys obviously had to go. And the reason why they had to go is because Leyland considered themselves to be the truck maker, and they had no room for Guy in their family, and so it was dispensed with as a brand, and it ceased to exist. And I'm sure the factory was shut down or used for some other British Leyland activity. Leyland didn't shut down all of its acquired truck names. They kept AEC down in Southall, which made the London buses, and they kept Albion, which was a Scottish truck maker, but they had no room, I'm afraid, for poor old Guy. What a shame, look, you know. That was my awful Wolverhampton accent. Did spend some time living in Wolverhampton as a child, actually. There's the original transfers, or stickers. Yucky, yucky, yucky. So my plan is to take these and turn them into BP, National Benzol, and maybe Regent petrol. And those companies did operate Guy Invincibles. I will have to do some work though, because this solid section would not have been on the real vehicle. It would have been hollow, and there would have been a step ladder, not a set of steps. But it's a toy. And recently the guys at Mattel Matchbox division did a competition or a contest which they've run for the past 3 years, and it's called the Matchbox Custom Contest. So that's all the preamble. And now to show you the main entries that I did for this year. Now, I've done it every year. I wasn't going to do it this year, but there's a chap called Chris Pryor, a fellow collector, who I'd said, well, I don't think I'm going to be doing it this year, and he said, oh well, you know, you need to, because I want to see a British one too, and that got me all stirred up and thinking about, you know, Jaguars at Le Mans and that sort of thing. Anyway, I waffle and digress. So I decided that I would buckle down and do it. And actually, it seemed like quite a good idea to do it, because I recently out of work. Okay, I'm looking for a new job. So it meant I had a bit of time on my hands in between my job-seeking activities. So I think I've spoken for too long. I want to show you my two main entries. Now, it was only going to be one entry, but I had more time on my hands and one came to pass, but I'll explain in good time. So I'm going to start with, this isn't the custom obviously, but this is what I based the first custom on, and it is the I always do this the wrong way around, 1971 Baja, not Barger, but Baja, because that's how it's pronounced. It's a sort of Southern California Mexican type term, Baja. So that's the type of, I think, sand dune. So this was the basis of it. Now, I had a beaten up one of these. This is one I've had for a few years now, and I've got it as a boxed example. The rather sad thing about this one is that it's slightly matted, which gives it an interesting feel. But the paint is lovely and the label's good, and so I would never think about doing anything to this one. Now, just look inside there and you'll see there is no steering wheel. I've pointed this out on a previous video, but this orange insert that deals with the seats also acts as the suspension bar. So that's all riveted down, so it goes down from the seats and along. You might just be able to see some of the detail there. So it meant, I think, that it made the process of actually moulding a steering wheel into that rather complex for what they had at the time, and they simply missed it out because some bright spark said the kids won't care. And they didn't, because this, amongst the other ones that were done at the same time with a similar arrangement, which includes the mod rod, none of them had steering wheels. So it was just simply a case of, you know, do without, and they sold. Kids loved them, it wasn't a problem for them. Their imagination filled in the gap. So that's that. This is the finished item. So you can see it's you can see where the original casting is. I'll put it next to it so you can see. you can see where it is. I've locked off the roof and I've covered over where the engine is, and it's got new wheels. It's also got an engine intake. So this is the basis. The idea was that it was going to be a missing link between the character cars that Matchbox did in the early 70s, which was the Mini Ha-Ha, which is the RAF1, the little character inside it, and the Flying Bug. So in a second I'm going to get those into camera and show you. But basically there wasn't an American one, though. There's actually, if you have a look on a Christian Falkensteiner site, and again Chris might be able to put the link up, there are some shots that he's got on there. He's very good at the information service of models that were proposed, and there were two more in that sequence. One was going to be a French one, which was going to be the Citroën SM, and it was going to look like Concorde in sort of metallic pink with a sort of Napoleon figure in it with little winglets on it, and the other one was going to be like a I think it was a Jeep with a sort of General MacArthur figure chewing on a cigar with sunglasses on, an army hat. They never happened because obviously mid 70s, early 70s was a difficult time for Lesney Matchbox, and so it never happened. Also the novelty cars became rather unfashionable with the kids, and they wanted realism, or that's what the marketing people said. Hot Wheels had its impact, and all the funny car things sort of died off. So it was the missing link, the proposal for this one for me. I looked at what I had as work to do on diecasts, and I found the Baja buggy, and I thought, okay, what can we do? This figure is the chap that comes out of the Hot Wheels Skull Shaker, which is sort of like a Matchbox Roller-matic thing. I think they own the patents to it, and it rocks side to side. Now it's in bright yellow, the character, so I had to spray him with a primer and then paint him all up. The wheels are off a Hot Wheels iPad car that I got in Poundland a number of years ago. So they are in fact a sort of polyester vinyl tyre with a black centre hub, which I then chromed around the edges and the centre. The intake and the rear, apart from these tail bits, are from it's not actually from a Matchbox Skybusters, but it is, I think, actually probably the same old mouldings that have been passed around. But the Corsair 2 made by Ling Temco Voigt, okay, who made the Corsair 2. I forget they called the A7. Too much detail, Mark, but anyway, it's just to allow you to understand that I have actually used quite a lot of Matchbox heritage in here. So we've got the intake and the rear plane, and these tail sections have come off a Matchbox plastic kit, which is an F86 Sabre, North American Sabre. So we've got a lot of things in here. The seat that he's actually in is a seat from an Airfix Triumph Herald car, a 1/32nd scale car. And the front canopy has been cut, but it was from a BAC Strikemaster aircraft, again a Matchbox kit. He's also got in there, if you can just see, it's a bit difficult to see, but he's got a set of instruments in there, dials, and that came out of a 1/32nd, no, it was a 1/24th or even 1/18th scale Bandai Bugatti 55. So look that up and you'll see what that is. But so I went all out with this one. It's got handmade decals, okay, jet blast. E9 refers to the postal code where the factory for Matchbox, Lesney Matchbox factory was Hackney, Lee Conservancy Road. Some of you may have been there. Huge factory that employed half of the population of Hackney for most of the time. He said it didn't that many, but it certainly employed a lot of people. And a NASA logo, North American Space Agency. No, it's North American Space. Oh, I don't know, whatever that stands for. Or Nice and Safe Attitude, if you remember the 90s. A range of clothes. And the Jitterbug is what I've called it. I missed that bit out. I was trying to come up with a name because they like to come up with names for these character cars. So I was thinking about jets. I was thinking about the time period, which I'm going for a sort of late 50s, early 60s look. So I came up with Jitterbug, which sounds like Jitterbug. the dance craze from the 30s and 40s. So the intake was a bit of a bodge. It's not as good as it could be. Plus, in a real world, that wouldn't last 10 seconds because it would suck up anything that was in the on the road and chuck it straight into the engine and kill the engine. But anyway, we'll have to use our imagination. Basically, the intake would then go up through and underneath him and then into a turbine at the back. It wouldn't have to be an enormous engine, obviously, to move him around. He carries the name Odell, which is a reference to Jack Odell, the chief engineer at Lesney. It's not supposed to be Jack Odell, but he did have a moustache. I'm quite pleased with it. 3 coats of orange paint on that, all layered up. It was a sort of day glow colour, very difficult to do.
Mark usually has a reason for sending all this sort of stuff, and it was really because I had asked if he could possibly do a custom for me. Basically, this car here, when I was tidying up, I came across it and I realised how much I liked this car. And when it came out, it took me forever to find one in the shops. A real quest, actually. Yeah, I travelled far and wide looking for this model and eventually found it in Milton Keynes, of all places, at Tesco's over there. I mean, I remember it distinctly because it was such a hard car to find. Mark, of course, in his area he found loads, and which meant he had a spare 1 or 2, and he suggested that maybe you could do a custom of it. And I said, well, if I have a custom of this car, it's going to have to be a racing job. So, but here it is. This is what Mark's come up with. Now, I've strapped it together with an elastic band there just so that it doesn't all come apart, because I actually want to do some more work to this car myself. As you can see, there hasn't been connected on the base. But what Mark has actually done, I'm going to take it apart actually, is, if we compare it to the original, as you can see, I've got him to take off those wing mirrors, which I felt were a bit strange looking. Now this car, the blue car, is actually, I think, based on the one at Jay Leno's garage. If anyone watches that regularly, they'll have spotted the blue Jaguar. It's not a standard Jaguar colour, so it's quite unusual. The only place I've seen one is actually at that garage. But white, on the other hand, is quite a popular Jaguar colour. It was used a lot by the early Le Mans teams for Jaguar around about the 1952 to 54 seasons. And Jaguar XK120 names thus because of its 120 mph top speed, which is interesting. This is the 1954 coupe. You can see he's taken off those wing mirrors. He's added what can we call a bonnet strap. And these cars came with 1 or 2 bonnet straps depending on the owner's preference. And as you can see, he's taken off the front bumpers and those rear bumpers. And we're now left with a sleek version of the car. I'm going to have a look inside because I know he's done some work in here as well. There we go. So it's basic 3-piece construction. He's painted up the dashboard, given it a lovely bit of a steering wheel there. And the most amazing thing for me in this is how he's done the wheels, because he's obviously kept the original axle the wheels were on, but somehow he's managed to fit these spacing bars on the wheels so that they can actually still drive the car, and also it stops the wheels from slipping inboard and looking really weird under the wheel arches. So that's just an amazing piece of craftsmanship there. So thank you very much, Mark, that is awesome. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching, tuning in. Please, if you want to comment, like, subscribe, etc., feel free. I want to thank Mark Ravon for your amazing input as usual, and hope to see you all again soon in my Hall of Mania video coming up very shortly, well, towards the end of the month. Just waiting on a few cars to come in before I finish that one off. So, ta-ta for now.